Hello, I'm Dale Matthews, and as I pointed out in the past, you're not. But Mike Jones is here, and he's also not Dale Matthews. Hello, Mike.
Yes,
Welcome anyway.
thank you, Dale. Thank you, Dale, and good evening to you. And
Good
and
evening.
and I appreciate very much you finding my crown.
Oh, your
Yes.
crown. Hey,
Some people are
well,
going, "Oh my God, I can't believe you said that."
oh my God. No, I can't believe he said, oh my God. Right. So
Yeah, right.
anyway,
Exactly. Yes.
and
I'm
why
going
would
to
you,
hell.
why, no, that's over here. This
Yeah.
is a little different. Woo! Nice way to start the show.
Hmm.
So this is the third week that we've talked about the imperial attitude among our county officials and how they generally treat us. And why are we putting up with that? And you probably know that at the last weekly business session, I just said, look, this is about enough of this. This is ridiculous. And just in case you wondered, the video that you saw was me repeating what had happened. And I imagine there's more than one person who will say, well, really, was that exactly what she said? Here's a tiny little clip to show you. Yes, that's exactly what Cheryl said.
As to Dale Matthews saying that Cheryl Walker said that all firefighters were pedophiles,
No.
I never said that.
Of course.
I would like to clarify what my statement was, is as I just stated earlier, anyone can come in here and hang out a shingle. And if there are no requirements in regards to a background check, you don't know who's going to be coming into your home to do that fire safety inspection or to inspect it to provide the service for you or to respond to a call. You don't know, and my statement was, whether they're a felon or they could even be a sex offender. You don't know if there's no background check. I didn't say they were all pedophiles. So that was your words, Dale Matthews, not mine. Thank you.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, Dale Matthews always putting words in
No, it
people's
wasn't.
mouths.
No,
Yeah.
you guys know me. First of all, I don't think such a stupid thing. Second, I would never say it at a weekly business session, even if I did. What kind of loan would say, oh, we know a couple of them from Facebook. What kind of a loan would say something like all firefighters, I'm not saying this now, all firefighters are pedophiles. I didn't just say that. That's crazy. And how would you feel, I asked Mike a couple of days ago, if someone came into your house and said that your wife just said that?
Yes.
Mike would give that person a chance. This is more than I would do. Mike would give that person a chance to take it back.
Yes. I would just think, I don't know how much you've drank since you've been here. But perhaps you took some drugs before you arrived at my house,
no.
and that's what's influencing your way of thinking. No, and another thing that, listen, another thing, one of the glaring things with it, these are two different points for the same video. If the county is now somehow going to be running background checks on firefighters, are they going to start doing the same thing for people who clean your gutters and people who run your drain lines? I mean, are they going to? Is this some service that the county is going to be providing for everybody? Because those services are going to become very expensive as they have to pay the county to do all these things. And of course, get their licensure from the county. That's just ridiculous. These are things that you don't want. I mean, you don't want to open this barn door because there's a lot of animals in there.
Wouldn't it be better if we ran background checks on the commissioners?
Yes, I think that's a much better idea.
Look, I'm gonna try to say this again in a different way. Anybody that would say such a statement, all firefighters are pedophiles, would be crazy, would be insane. That's a stupid thing to say. Nobody in their right mind would say that. And if somebody said that and was serious, you should find them a doctor. Okay.
Well,
so
but she
not,
apparently heard
let me
you
finish
say
the
it. Dale,
sentence.
she heard you say it.
No, let me finish that sentence. For her to quote me saying that is just the most maniacal thing. I mean, what it is it's taking someone that said something seriously and it's trying so hard to make fun of that person that you're willing to just say anything in the world to try to make them look bad. How well does that work for Cheryl?
Well, and it reminds me of the library situation, and I hope that that's coming up somewhere in this series. That during that library situation, there was the initial where Judy says, "Hey, I hear that there's no filters on the computers over at the library." So Dale goes over there, and then the next week he reports on it and says, "Hey, I looked into it. Yeah, there is no filters on the library computers.
I'm a library donor."
Right, and you can find porn there. And then at the same time, they have the entirety of the library board, because they knew this was coming, attack him for and make fun of him and call him a pedophile and call him a social deviant and call him a hacker and all kinds of other things. They just made stuff up out of thin air in order to discredit him, because, hey, wait a minute, here's somebody that's making us look bad, and we need to look good because we're trying to get money from our donors and stuff right now, or something along those lines.
Leading the applause. Applause. At a weekly business, yes, applause.
Yeah. So that was a long story, but basically, what Cheryl said in this last clip is part of that same type of strategy, is to make the other person look bad by saying that something that they said was outrageous when what he said was just a quote of what she had said earlier, which is just bizarre.
That's bizarre. Yeah. And that's not good, because this is not the first time this kind of thing has happened. Let's play the next clip. You'll see.
In our country, we've taken this right that we have to free speech. We've taken it to unbelievable levels. We openly criticize our leaders in this country, in our county. We pretty much criticize anything that we don't agree with. We don't see anything wrong with complaining and whining and showing disgust and pretty much getting angry with anybody who will listen to us.
Now, let me just pause for a second. He's essentially saying, he's not coming right out and saying it, but he really is saying that all of these things are taking place at a weekly business session.
Yeah, well, where else would they take place?
Now, complaining, sure, people are complaining, and they're, to people who will listen to them. But for crying out loud, number one, that's our right to do that, and number two, but he's trying to make it seem like people are falling down on the floor, kicking their feet up in the air, and screaming.
Well, this is exactly what Dennis Weber said, and Dennis was in the video that Mark Goen.
Right.
I condense this a little bit, okay?
Yeah, right. There's two parts of this thing.
Yeah. But Dennis Weber was there, and Dennis was the one that said at church, when I used to go to church there, that people were yelling out obscenities. Obscenities.
Yes.
At the weekly business session.
No, it's silly, and I'll pull this back a little bit to make up for my interruption here.
Whining and showing disgust and pretty much getting angry with anybody who will listen to us. And I just need to say this, that it's really painful for me to watch when I see people that just can't honor authority. And we need to see rebellion for what it really is. 1 Samuel 15:23, rebellion is like the sin of divination, Satan worship, and arrogance like the evil of idolatry. So that's what rebellion is. It's like Satan
Not just
worship.
one of those things, both of those things.
Pause it there, please. Pause.
How hurtful it is, how dangerous.
Yes.
Okay. So this is when Mike and I ran across a guy. He really does exist. This guy exists. That said that he was in that room, and the part that we can't read under Mike, that was never said. That's why Mike had this picture up there, so you couldn't see it.
Yes, I was running interference for that guy.
Right. That number one, he was in the room. This guy. That never was said. That was not voiced. Number two is this guy, Mark Goins, would never say such a thing. Number 3 is he never said the word Satan worship. Number 4 was it was never put up on a slide. This is their tape.
Okay, well, hang on just a second. Let's just remove any doubt. Now, listen very carefully, because the thing that the guy said never happened is going to happen here in a second here. So just listen to this.
23, rebellion is like the sin of divination, Satan worship, and arrogance like Satan worship, Satan worship, Satan worship, and arrogance like the evil of idolatry.
Okay, all right, he did
That's
say
what
it.
rebellion is. It's like Satan worship, and we just need to understand how hurtful it is, how dangerous it is.
Yes, it's dangerous.
And then they went into a tape that they had made. Dennis Weber, okay, get the cast of characters here right. Dennis Weber, Mark Goins, our current sheriff, and our current chief of police.
Mm-hmm.
They're all talking about how absolutely essential it was to vote for that last property tax levy. And if you don't,
Yes,
that everything's going to go to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah, and this is the interesting thing, because people would say, "Well, he didn't say if you don't vote for the levy, you're a Satan worshiper." Yeah, he did. I mean, he didn't put those exact words together. This drives me crazy about people who go, "Well, he didn't say exactly that." Yes, but hello. The point that he's trying to put across is that if you don't vote for this, you're guilty of this, which is like Satan worship.
Well, you need to follow the order of this. I mean,
Yes.
that's one thing that we can do on this show. First, he talks about how if you question authority, it's like Satan worship. Okay.
Yeah.
Rebellion, which we had one of
Right.
these in this country near the beginning of the country, as I recall. Okay.
Right.
And so the rebellion. Okay. And then he goes, and then he says, well, and then he delivers you to the tape where they're talking about how essential this is. And at the end of that, then he has himself and this member of the budget committee for Josephine County up front there to answer your questions. As I always say, about Jesus? No, about the levy.
Yeah, that whole thing was just crazy. And listen, it's I wish I had the date it was.
Well, I put it on there.
The date of when it took place.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Let's. I'll roll that back here in a second. But you should go back.
It was just before the vote.
Right. You should go back and watch that show, because it's so interesting. And this, as Dale was talking about it, brought back memories that he told you, the whole thing was a setup. The whole sermon was a setup. It's, he should have put a disclaimer up before the sermon saying, hey, I know this is going to sound a lot like a sermon to you, but it's not really a sermon. This is a political rally. Because the beginning is talking about how, hey, you really need to respect authority. And, if you don't respect authority, it's kind of like Satan worship. And then at the end of that, he brings out some authorities to tell you how to vote. So, the only possible message that you could take away from that is this guy says that, if you don't vote for this, or if you don't follow these authorities and do what they tell you to do, that you're somehow a bad person. And
Jim Brumbach comes in from the budget committee. There was nobody on the budget committee at that time. Nobody that wasn't dyed, in the wool, drinking the Kool-Aid, entirely in favor, strongly pushing for a property tax. And remember how everything was going to go away, and that they even predicted, Cheryl especially predicted, that our departments are just going to just fall apart.
No.
Well, did they?
No, of course not. And the date was April 26th, and I believe we did this show the same day.
I think so. Yes,
I
right.
think we did. We did it the same day, and some of it may have bled over into the Monday following, which would be April 27th.
Oh, let me tell you, these were very
Yes.
popular shows. Mike knows.
Yes.
We got thousands. Now, I'm going to say this right. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of views.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. We got over 5,000 views from
Wow.
from the combination of the two. It was
okay.
like 4,000 across the country for one of them, and about 1,500 or whatever for the other one. Extremely popular, and there was nobody that was saying, "Oh, good. I just think that's a wonderful sentiment."
Yeah, well, actually, no, there was a guy. There was a guy that came on there and said, "You guys need some of the milk of blah blah blah."
I remember that.
I forget what that was. He was saying, "Oh, you guys are crazy. You guys are like, you need some of the milk of Jesus, whatever."
I hate it when they talk in a whiny voice like that.
Yes. Listen, I'm sure that I need all the help that I can possibly get from Jesus.
Yes.
I will tell you that right now.
Yes.
But criticizing us for being critical of that, it's just ridiculous.
We found them on Facebook too. That was interesting, and they're still there. They're just certifiable loons. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, next videotape.
If you have a question for the commissioners, we'll continue after this important message.
Unfortunately, there's never enough money for public safety. That's why they're always after us to raise our taxes. There's enough money for other government services, though. Of course, we're always told that's pass-through funding, which can only be used for specific purposes that don't include public safety. Never mind the fact that the primary purpose of government is the protection of its citizens. Never mind the fact that the departments responsible for carrying out that purpose are the two most underfunded departments in our county government. The money is there, but it can't be used for the purpose for which it's most needed. The problem is not that the county doesn't have enough money. The problem is that the county doesn't have the discretion to allocate our tax dollars where they're needed most. Until that problem is solved, throwing more money at a broken system isn't going to fix it. Vote no on 1766, paid for by W4ACG.
You're listening to the Tuesday Talk Show here on KAJO Radio. County Commissioners are in studio. We have a caller coming in. Good morning, caller. Do you have a question for the commissioners?
Yes, I do.
Terry Mackin.
The anti-levy ad that just ran about 2 minutes ago was so full of misrepresentations, garbage, and out-and-out lies. I don't know if the commissioners listened to it, but would they like to address the issue of how the money that comes in from the state and the feds can be used?
Yes, give it a go. There was a mutual grimace when the ad appeared. Remind everybody that the commissioners have nothing to do with the initiation of the levy or the promotion of the levy, so to speak. That's done by a Citizens United for Safety group. Has nothing to do with the county commissioners.
They didn't initiate it, Mike.
And I can say that with a clear conscience, and there's always going to be people saying, "Yeah, right, you know." Okay, that's life.
We just have you on tape.
The levy does pass. Whatever money comes in must be used for the public safety, and the public safety department includes the sheriff's department, the largest percentage, and then the juvenile justice, and then
now
the
watch him back off of
That's
that.
the only place that they can be used. Now there are going to be those that will say, yeah, but you got 10% goes to your. Oh, okay, yes, there is this 10% that goes to making electricity work and paying for papers and all kinds of stuff.
Electricity work.
Yes, it's the commissioner's money. The commissioners receive a percentage of that whole, along with other departments, building and maintenance, keeping things clean, just normal procedures that make a
essential
success.
For police work.
The commissioners, I think, are the number 3 on the percentage of monies that are received out of that fund of 10% that comes off. But generally, it does not go to the general fund. It goes specifically toward the programs that the Citizens United for Safety have been promoting.
You know, I just learned something during this. I just learned, and I'm going to have to go back and read my history because I was not aware that, well, Nikola Tesla was building the AC generator for the first time, that he had to somehow factor in the 10% to make the electricity work.
Okay, so we have some fun with the news here. Obviously, we do, and we can laugh at this kind of perfidy. Okay, that's when you use papers that already have holes in them. But
Yes. But, and you know what? Never, ever, ever be condescending. You know,
right, because
that's when you talk down to people.
No, it gets everything wet. Okay, the salient points. Anyway,
Yes.
look, Keith was saying all the way up to all three of them were saying. All three of them were saying no money's going to be taken. Now, here's the serious part about this. Mark Gatlin, who then ran against Simon Hare and was favored by the other two commissioners who are now going to be run out of town on a rail. Mark Gatlin and his campaign manager, I was there when they were telling people there's no 10% that's going to be taken out. That's just all made up. Now, they couldn't have it on a piece of paper because that's a lie. So they didn't have it on the initiative. They were telling people that were signing the initiative. That's illegal. Mark, you just come right after me, buddy. Just come right on after me, okay? Because that is exactly what he did. This is one reason you should not vote for Mark Gatlin. Now, but I agree with him that it's a wonderful thing. Maybe you're right. Do you like the fact that he lied about it? That's the question.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of people that are willing to let their pet politician lie and with complete immunity. So,
well, Keith Eck just told you both versions that we're not doing it, but we are doing it. It was all in the same content. We are, but we aren't. And Harry Mackin at the beginning, it was filled full of lies. What lies? Well, there were exaggerations. Exaggerations? What exaggerations? Wasn't very specific, was he?
Well, Keith didn't even address anything that was said in the ad.
And Cato just delivered it right to him. They were happy to sell the ad time and then help the commissioners debunk the ad that they sold. There's a special name for that. It's probably in French. I don't like it. Sure, they'll sell you. And so I talked to 4 WG space guys, and I say, look, why are you buying ad time from these guys?
Oh, you know what? Actually, I don't fault them in this particular case. Let me tell you why.
Yeah.
Because there was a guy I believe it was Budget Internet here in town.
Yeah.
Who was a fan of those commercials. And he said, listen, I have a regular ad buy going with those guys. And listen, if I'm not getting this exactly right, it's essentially correct. Okay.
Oh, we're so sensitive now. Well
no, I'm just saying, right. Exactly. Yeah. No, he said, listen, I want your spots to run in place of mine.
Oh, that's excellent.
The end of this campaign. And so you'd be a fool not to take that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Play the next videotape, please. These are great.
A comment was just made by Miss Kirkpatrick Pilger that says, if you keep doing what you're doing, you get the same result. Well, if you keep voting down the levies, we keep getting the same result.
Pause.
We are not going to be in any better shape next year.
Yeah.
Okay. So the lead into this should have been, I should have said, she had just lectured everybody at the beginning of this meeting that you cannot, during this time period, when the ballots were out into people's hands, you cannot, between the hours of 9 and 5 next to the courthouse, you cannot argue for or against anything at all on the ballot.
Yes. Yes, and I'm sure she would try to make the case that that's not what she was doing right there.
Well, let's just go ahead and listen to more of what she has to say. And look at Keith.
Because the money we're getting from the secure rule schools is less than we had last year. It takes $4.5 million just to run the jail at the current level. If you don't like the current level, it's going to be worse next year because it's less money. So if you keep voting down the support, and even the founding fathers, including George Washington, said it's up to the public to pay to support the society that we have established. So, yeah, that's a very true thing. If you keep doing the same thing, you get the same result. And I think that there was an awful lot of comment here about something that was taken off the agenda, so I'm not going to comment on that.
Okay.
What?
Whatever. I
Okay.
forget what that was. What
Well,
was the thing that
everybody
was
does.
taken off of the agenda?
Okay, look, and we've caught her before doing this, exactly this. And I sent the tape, the link to the tape to the state, and with the documentation, with the transcript, and all the rest of that. And they looked at it because they laugh at us there. They do up north. They think that we sleep with our cousins or whatever. It doesn't matter if we do or not. Is this illegal? And so you're free and clear, Mike.
I don't know, Dale. Is that legal?
This was illegal, okay? And they decided not to enforce it. They just said, well, we're having a debate here about whether to enforce. You're having a debate about whether to. What are we supposed to do? What do we have to do as citizens? Look, we're doing what we do now. We're telling you. And you have been, we can tell by the reactions we're getting, you have been responding to us. You've been liking our videos. We get no money for that. You say hi to us in the street instead of throwing rocks now. And the best part about it is that we hope that you're telling your neighbors about it, because without the information, nobody knows that Keith Heck is going to run again. Well, there's people who are going to look at it and say, oh, well, this guy's kind of big and blustery. He probably is a good county commissioner, blah, blah, okay? And so that blah, blah is important. But more important than that is if you don't know what he said or what she said or not said. Look, even the sneak preview knows what she said and say she's the best ever. Really? Curtis Hayden, what's the matter with you? The best ever.
Yeah, you know what? I think Cheryl has a lot less chance of being reelected than Keith does.
Well, not if she doesn't run, but yes.
Well, listen, just on the basis of this, Walker and heck yes. You know, I mean, that's what his sign said last time. He said, heck yes, and it had a check mark, you know. For crying out loud, that's I think probably a lot of people voted for him just on that basis right there.
Oh, there's a real good reason to vote for the guy.
Well, no, listen, yes, but I'll tell you what, a lot of people's first exposure to the candidate is in the voters pamphlet when they're or maybe not even in the voters pamphlet, on the ballot itself.
Look, I'll tell you, make a political prognostication once again here. Any candidates that have a short 4-letter name that end in E, Hare, Dale, Mike, stand a good chance of getting elected.
Dale's shameless in his strong arm tactics here.
No, not at all. It just, yes. I want what's best for our county.
Yes.
And we got to put an end to this kind of stuff. This is bad. This is getting worse. Okay, next video, please.
No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. And it seems, I mean, if you're reading this, that somehow, if this is just a statement and it doesn't mean anything, and no one is going to intercede on your behalf, I don't see the point of having it in here.
I don't see anywhere in maybe this will help, the Bill of Rights itself in the U.S. Constitution. Mm-hmm. I don't think anywhere in there it compels the government to intercede or do, frankly, anything. It prohibits the government from doing things. I've got it here, and we can go through it, but
yeah, I think prohibits. But then if they do it, if they're in violation of it, there's nothing that compels anybody to do anything to stop it.
Yeah, the first words are "Congress shall make no law," so it's right. Demanding inaction.
Yes,
which I think is consistent with what we have here in our charter.
So demanding inaction.
Yes, but okay,
is the result of this.
Okay, now
then they could say, well, we're actually commanded to do nothing.
I don't know. I can tell you this, that but the First Amendment, there are court cases. There are court cases that deal with this issue of compelled speech.
What? What?
That's such a weird direction to go with that. I think yes. Perhaps it doesn't compel government to protect your rights in every single instance, but it certainly should keep government. If they're looking, what can we do to this guy? Oh, we can't do that because it says we can't do that. I mean, clearly the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, these are things that it's basically saying, Fourth Amendment, it's saying things that the government cannot do to you. Okay. We can't infringe on this guy's rights of free speech. We can't infringe on this person's right to bear arms, without some sort of just cause, search and seizure, etc. And that was just a real odd way to deal with that. And I kind of understanding Wally more now, or perhaps understanding the role of county council. And that is essentially, and this is going to be different things for different county councils, but apparently in this particular case, our county council believes that his job is just nothing else but to keep the county out of a lawsuit somehow. So he's thinking,
this is not why we elected this guy.
Yes. But so if you're, sitting there and somebody's violating your rights, he's thinking, what could get us into more trouble? Interceding somehow on behalf of this guy, or just standing back and saying, well, it says we don't have to do anything.
Yeah, but who is the us? That's the important thing. He's the only county council in the whole state who's elected. Did you elect him because you were thinking, what could keep the commissioners out of trouble when they're constantly getting into trouble? Right. Or did you elect the guy because you thought, we've had more than enough of that? Thank you very much, Steve Rich, for 20 years. Now we need someone that's going to intercede on our behalf.
Yeah.
He's not doing that, and he's chosen sides now. He actually said that some of the videotape that we have does not show what you see that it shows. He's taken that route. Really? Yes, he's taken that route. It's not on there. Dale, it's not on there.
And I really hate to go this place with Wally, but when I was incredulous there when I was talking to him that he didn't read it the same way I do, because when I read it and it says this gives a measure of local protection. Oh, really? And now we are going to parse protection and take it apart and,
here's
see
what does that on a rainy day. There's your charter protection.
Really bizarre. I mean, I think that people like to believe that justice is ultimately going to be served. And here's the documents that says this is our code.
Isn't that why you voted for him? It's why I voted for the guy. I want to like him. Now I can't because he's chosen the side. He's chosen the side that what you saw on tape did not happen. Well, that's irreversible.
And that's a really weird situation too, because we all saw it happen for like 20 minutes or a half an hour. This discussion that apparently didn't take place.
Why would he say that it didn't? And how can you back up from that? I mean, you'd have to get on the ground and pray to God that he forgives you. I mean, because that's lunatic. You can't stick with that, no matter who you're sucking up to. And I'm using my words carefully here. I mean it. No matter who you're sucking up to, that's a crazy position to take. That it didn't happen, that the tape is lying to you?
Yeah, I mean, you'd be better off rationalizing it. And listen, you could say, well, yeah, we did talk about that. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do this in a way that's very, very similar to the way the garbage service is going to be. And that's how, I mean, he could have just said, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And you know what? The commissioners, they have the right to do that if they want to. It's the wrong thing to do, in my personal opinion. And I think that in terms of doing the right thing for the citizens of the county, that's a wrong direction to take it, because that's going to cost everybody money. It's anti-competitive. Anytime you have a situation where you're favoring people for money, or you're choosing winners and losers, you're ultimately going to, the cost of that service is going to go up, and you may have a lesser quality of service delivered as well. So,
I liked him. I liked him much better than Steve Rich. He's a fun guy. He's a funny guy. He will talk to you. He maintains an open door policy. All those are good things. This open door policy does nobody any good at all. None, when he takes the stand that what you saw didn't happen. Just flat out. Not that you misinterpreted it now. Not that it was, there are 5 other explanations, that it just didn't happen. See, it doesn't matter now. I have an open door policy, stand out on the street. It doesn't matter, because you've taken the position of craziness, of, I don't know how to put this. I've never seen anything like it before in county government ever.
So there's no chance at all that Wally misinterpreted what you were saying.
I asked him 3 times.
Yeah.
You know how pedantic I can be about this kind of thing. Everybody knows.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I gave him 3 opportunities to back out of that. No, not happening. And then when I saw him a couple days later, he was all angry because I repeated what he said to me. Hey, Wally, you've taken a stand. You should be proud, right? Not proud. He's denying that he even took a stand. Okay, next tape. Jeez.
Dale Matthews, Grants Pass. I'm sure there's plenty of good people who thought that when they voted for certain commissioners, they'd end up with certain things. They didn't anticipate that the motto of this board would be, I know we're breaking the law and I don't care. The same thing goes for me with the Josephine Community Libraries. I'm a donor to them. I grew up in libraries. I really like them. I'm not a book burner. But I also don't expect that there's going to be something very similar to a picture book for pedophiles in the library. I don't like that. I don't approve. And I don't think that's part of the First Amendment the way that I see it, when we're supposed to be watching over the kids. So when another citizen brought up that porn was easily available to children and to everybody at the library, Cheryl Walker said, oh no, that's just not true. So I went down there, as a good journalist would do, and I checked it out to see if it was true. It was true. Under Google, not getting access to some weird websites, just Google images. You just type in the most innocuous words, and suddenly you're looking at soft pornography. Really? On the library's computers? I also found that you could get access to the pictures, because nobody's interested in the words, of the North American Man-Boy Love Association. Grown men with little boys?
If you want us to talk about the general idea, let's not get into the specifics.
Yes,
we don't need
right.
that. We don't need
So
that.
I brought this to the attention of the librarian in charge. He just laughed. Well, the fellow said, well, that's part of free speech for kids. Free speech for kids. So I did try to do it quietly. Any good citizen would. It didn't work. They just laughed. So I brought it to a meeting here. You know, you have a rule against not applauding. Cheryl Walker led the applause when they were jumping all over me. Why, you're addicted to porn. No, I'm not. I'm bringing you a point. I'm a donor. Why, you're hacking into our computer. It's Google. I'm not hacking into anything. Why, it sure seems like you're a social deviant, Mr. Matthews. What the heck are you talking about? Well, this ended up being one of our most popular videos of all time, all over the country, and with a follow-up that was just as popular. So I would advise companies and people that are saying, gee, I don't know if I'm going to move there because of the library. Don't move here because of the leadership of this library. Stay away from this place. And if you're going to take children to the library, you better stay next to them. Because this is the kind of leadership we have. There's nothing wrong with the books, with the stacks, with the computers. There's something wrong with the management there.
Same thing here. We're bad county, not because we have crooked rivers. Well, they might meander a little bit. It's not because we've got bad trees. It's not because there's something nutty about the squirrels. We've got bad management, and we can solve that problem. Can't solve Simon Hare saying and doing crazy things, but you can minimize it, his influence. You can say, you know what, Simon, this travel that you're doing, travel, that's over. You're not showing us that it's doing anything for us. You've even come back a couple of times and said, well, nothing was accomplished. Why did you go? So we just dropped
Dale, come on. If you are not, at the table, you're on the menu. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you about the table. That's an interesting little thing about that. Every year when they go to one of these things, they have a table where they put up Taylor sausages, Simon's pals, and Carrie's candies. Nothing wrong with Carrie's candies, but another pal to the board, and a couple little things. And the only people that get to partake are officials from other counties. And they're going to eat that Taylor sausage or take it home probably, or have a little piece of candy and say, gosh, I got to quit my job and move to Josephine County, or whatever it is they're supposed to say. Now, last year, we had a portion of a table because we really didn't take very much stuff with us, and no one wanted to sit there with it. Nobody wanted to sit there with it. So the other commissioners are saying, we really got to put on a good show. Why do we have to put on a good show for the places that have more money? Well, we must. And then, but Simon says, no, wait a minute. If we have a whole table, then someone's got to sit there. And they're talking about how much money they should spend maybe on one of the secretarial staff going to sit there with this stuff. Or maybe they could get somebody from the hotel and pay them to sit there with it. And Simon's saying, I don't want to sit there with it. And here's what he said, because I got a lot of hands to shake.
Yes, right. I don't get that. I don't get the whole thing with, showing off your wares to other counties. I don't think they care. They're all there to make a good impression on you. This is, listen.
Now, the last time they showed off their wares big time was Simon went to the national things where there's nothing that gets done. And there was a girl in Spanglies that was dancing. I mean, they even put it on their own website. Here's this girl that's, half naked that's dancing around. What are you doing there? Stop it. Yeah. Stop traveling. Stop it. Stop it.
Yeah, I think we understand what's going on there. Listen, if you want business to crowd in here, there's a limited amount that you can do. But take government out of their way. Say, listen, you come here, we will part the Red Sea for you. Yeah. And we will, streamline all the processes that it takes for you to come and ensconce yourself in our county here. That would be all that you'd need to do. Having a secretary sit at a table with some sausage and candy. By the way, I love that candy.
Well, I agree with you. It's a little bit funny that it's called caries, because anyone's interested in anything having to do with dentistry knows that caries refers to tooth decay.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. The problem that I have is that we will typically give out a lot of that around Christmas time, and there's a lot of it left over, and I cannot walk by a dish of that stuff without eating some of it.
I don't care if our county commissioners look like they're just as rich as Lane County. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care.
It irritates me that we must look like the others. Why, if we don't put up money, then we're not going to look. That's not about us. We don't care. Simon Hare won't look good. And then the job that he's seeking somewhere in the state is not going to happen for him because they're going to think he's the same kid that was getting everybody coffee before. Now, stop traveling. I would help him do that. And we've got this expensive screen on the wall. Why? He can participate in every way that he wants to by remote control. No more shaking hands. But if I can't shake their hands, then how am I going to be chair of the chair committee? You're out. We don't belong to that organization anymore. You can be involved with them as a private citizen. Don't represent us. Not anymore. It's not working. Stop doing the same thing you've been doing. It's 5 years. Where is it? Well, if we're not on the table, you've already done that thing with the table. It had a girl on it, remember? Nah, done. Next tape.
NBC5 News at 6 starts now.
A letter written by Josephine County Commissioners leading some to ask, is it a potential conflict of interest or in the best interest of the county? Good evening, and thank you for choosing NBC5 News at 6. I'm Craig Smola.
And I'm Christine Pitawana. Controversy surrounding cannabis never seems to end, but this time it's not about recreational or medical marijuana.
That's right. The battle that's brewing in Josephine County tonight is over hemp. NBC5's Matt Jordan is live in studio with the details. Matt?
Right, Christine, some in Josephine County would call it marijuana versus hemp. One side says the two can't coexist in the county. Others say there's plenty of room for both crops. A bill going through the state could settle that argument once and for all.
I think that the two different crops can coexist.
I'm all for hemp, just not in this county.
It's two sides of the same leaf in Josephine County as hemp farmers and marijuana farmers go head to head. With the legalization of recreational marijuana just weeks away, some are worried that current hemp crops could endanger their plants.
The male hemp plants will impregnate the female cannabis plants and damage them.
Mark Seligman is a supporter of House Bill 2668 that would restrict hemp growing in the state. He says Josephine County Commissioner Cheryl Walker, his one-time political opponent, is growing hemp on her property at the expense of nearby marijuana farmers.
When you plant one crop at the expense of another, to me and to most people, that's bioterrorism and irresponsible.
In a letter to legislators, Walker and her fellow commissioners spoke out against the House bill, which would ban hemp cultivation in Josephine County.
The bill was trying to exclude 3 counties out of 36 counties without even consulting with us to determine what processes were taking place or what was important to the county.
That brought about accusations of a conflict of interest since Walker is a partner in a hemp farm.
We have no control over whether the chair of the committee or the speaker of the House will allow that bill to come out of committee or even go to a vote. So we have no control over that.
Walker says that letter fell well within her boundaries as a commissioner.
This comes from the handbook of ethics for government officials. As long as you're representing a class of people, that there's not a violation. And I was representing a class of people.
The potential conflict of interest came up Wednesday.
I do take this issue very seriously.
Fellow Commissioner Simon Hare, an investor of hemp in the county, acknowledged he himself might have a conflict of interest and asked County Counsel Wally Hicks to look into the matter.
When I learned of this potential conflict of interest, I immediately contacted the Oregon Ethics Commission for clarity on this issue.
Walker says she welcomes the investigation because she says she signed the letter on behalf of the county.
Neither one of us even thought about declaring any kind of conflict of interest because we were talking about representing the county from being, excluded from growing an agricultural crop.
The House bill banning hemp in Jackson, Josephine, and Douglas counties is still in committee. If it becomes law, it would create a 5-mile buffer zone between marijuana and hemp crops, as well as restrict hemp to 1,000 feet away from school zones. Live in studio, Matt Jordan, NBC5 News.
Matt, thanks. Recreational sales of marijuana in Washington and Colorado have now topped a combined $500 million. That's according to government officials and researchers evaluating the impacts of legalizing marijuana at a conference in Washington state. Officials say tens of millions of dollars in tax revenue is coming into both states' coffers because of the legalization of the drug.
Now, Mike, this is not about hemp and should it be legal or illegal. What is this about?
Well, this is about a conflict of interest. This is about corruption on the part of the Board of Commissioners, where they're obviously they're advocating for a class of people. Yes, it just turns out you guys are the only ones in that class.
And Cliff Thomason, who was part
bizarre.
of this whole process, just announced that he's going to be running for governor.
Wow. Okay. Well, and another thing that was happening, that they were talking about $500 million in Washington and Colorado since the legalization.
Yeah.
And Dale and I were just talking before the show about banking in respect to that. Where are these people storing all that $500 million worth of profit?
The federal government requires that you account for what you have. But if you account for what you have, they're going to prosecute you.
Yeah. And okay, here's the other thing. If because the sales of an illegal product could be confiscated because that's illegal, right?
Right.
So why would the taxes on said illegal product not be then confiscatable?
Of course they could be.
Not a term.
Okay.
But I mean, isn't that an interesting thing? Yes.
Now, going back to this story, what had happened was it wasn't on the agenda, this document. Simon brought it in under other, which means you don't even tell anybody about it. And so nobody got a chance to talk about it because it's not on the agenda. And he brings it up and says, this has to be done right away. Well, of course, Cheryl agreed with him right away. It must be done. So they signed the thing outside of the presence of the public as well. They talked about it in front of us, but they signed it outside of the presence of the public. We didn't know what it said. They sent it in under an emergency decision now. But it never occurred to, I don't believe her, when it never occurred to her this might be a conflict of interest. Now, this stinks more than marijuana does. Next one, please.
Okay, so the public meetings laws are constantly being updated.
Yeah.
Now, you got to read what this says down there. Put that back up, and would you read it to us, please, Mike? Do you mind?
Okay, hang on.
In a sense, at least.
Okay. Compare all board objections to this one simple rule from Council Hicks. The meeting must be public if two or more commissioners merely gather information upon which a decision might be based.
Now, that's the state law. That's directly from state law. Again, everything that they say now in this meeting, I left this up the entire clip. It must be public if two or more commissioners merely gather information upon which such a decision might be based. Go ahead.
To analyze, the Attorney General publishes out a public records and meetings manual on a routine basis. The most recent hearing in November 2014. And so in an attempt to sort of distill this, at least its essence, to this, and provide the board with a reference document, I've compiled this and submit it to you for your review, consideration, and discussion.
I mean, to me, the key phrase that keeps appearing in this thing is county business is discussed, and then the discussion has to do with deliberation toward a decision. So if you're going to discuss county business of whatever it might be, that does not lead toward any decision, that still is able to be dealt with and talked about.
No.
Only in the public meeting context.
Well, I'm confused, because here it says that the purpose of this is deciding on or deliberating toward a decision.
Yes. Yes.
So if we're talking about county business, which is cutting the grass, I mean, and we talk about the shape of the grass, and yeah, that's great, and appreciate what they're doing. That is not deliberation toward a decision.
Basically, if it has to do with county business, then it is a public meeting.
Well, but see, that's where this rubber band is getting stretched so far to be all inclusive.
Nebulous analogy, but House Joint Resolution 21, just bring it home. We don't do anything on that.
Yeah, we don't have a vote.
Up to us. Well, we may.
Well,
but just like
yeah, but then the general public has a vote. So.
You know, like at an SOS meeting, can the board be in the room to discuss House Joint Resolution 21, even though there's no decision pending? I don't even know how there could be.
What does it say?
We would send a resolution saying, you know, we oppose House Joint Resolution 21 because.
But in that situation, there's a discussion in my little pea brain means at least two people are talking about it.
Yes.
But there's also the element of gathering information, right? It
Right.
can lead to
Yes. Yes.
So that's what makes it grass. I mean,
Yes.
it's so broad.
Broad.
It's crazy broad.
It is, it is the
Gathering
burden of
information.
It's crazy
the
broad.
system of three.
That broad
I
is
mean,
crazy.
basically that
You got those
each of you at any time can only discuss county business
Facebook. Yeah.
in a public meeting. That's the takeaway.
the keyword discuss county business.
No.
HDR 21 is not county business, number one. And specifically, I mean, if anybody's referring to the
Now, hang on just a minute. HR 21 is not county business. Now, what does that mean? If you're asking me, the HJR 21, what it is that if they pass it, and then it, I guess, would have to go to a vote of the people as well. But ultimately, it would establish a $2 minimum per thousand of property taxes statewide. Okay,
That's correct.
So how is them going there and advising them on HJR 21 and saying anything about it? How is that not county business? I mean, the only reason why they're arguing it is because it's county business.
And how are they not gathering information? It says, I underlined it. That's the state law. They're gathering information that could possibly lead to a decision. And just the fact that we would get to vote on it is still discussing county business. When they met with Mark Gatlin to talk about the ramifications of him winning against Simon Hare, they were discussing county business. When I was kicked off of KJO for bringing up this exact point, that at the Rotary Club meeting, they were discussing county business, I was kicked off of KJO forever for even bringing it up. It's against the law. That's how sensitive Carl Wilson is to criticisms of Rotary. You know, I didn't say that Rotary made up the rule or that Rotary's doing it on purpose, but it's happening at their meeting. I didn't need to say that. They're super sensitive about this subject because they are breaking the law. And Wally Hicks put this on county letterhead. They've been told this many times. Keith says, well, I don't know if I've ever heard this BS. I've mentioned it to him. We've all mentioned it to him. We've given them the documentation. We showed them where to find it for themselves. We gave them copies of it. They know it's against the law, and that's why Keith Heck said 3 times, I know we're breaking the law, and I don't care. He didn't say, I don't think we are breaking the law. No, he said, I know we're breaking the law, and I don't care. This is no surprise to these guys. Well, maybe that shouldn't be the law, but it is. Maybe marijuana shouldn't be legal, but it is. Maybe, people shouldn't be able to ride around without a helmet, or should be able to ride around without it. But that's not what the law says. If you think the law is an S, great, change the law. But Harry Mackin and Roy Lindsay, once the Royal Crown Cola? No, I don't think so. Once the Republican Central Committee takes a vote and decides they're going to stand against a property tax, then you lost. Okay, better luck next time. But that's the new rule. These guys don't like this new rule, and it's easy. It's easy. You go to every meeting you want to by yourself as a commissioner, representing a commissioner, but you can't go with 2 people because you're gathering information. If you're asleep, then maybe you're not gathering information. That could be Keith. But as long as you're there and you're gathering information, especially if you're then responding to questions, that's doubly breaking the law if there is such a thing. No, nope. It's against the law. Don't do it. That's all. Simple. Go ahead, Mike.
The presentation that I made on HDR 21 was Mr. Heck was in the room, but we didn't even talk to each other. He never asked a question. We never deliberated. I never addressed anything to him. And in fact, I never even gave an opinion on it. I just was teaching people how to read the bill, what to look for in the bill, and if they so chose to make any comment, who to contact. I didn't do anything else.
You got to say goodbye to these guys.
But, people don't know how to read the bill. This is the relating clause. This is what it's about. This is who introduced it. That's what I did. So
I see the open public meeting law having 2 goals, and one is for the public to be a witness to the gathering, the discussions, and stuff like that, and that's important. But also, if 2 commissioners are in a room, and there's discussions or even alluding to the idea that we don't support or we support, or this is a good thing or this is a bad thing, it just gets really tough for the other commissioner who's not there, because the other two could come to the meeting that one wasn't at and say, well, we have a predetermined idea based on information that was gathered or even just presented by somebody else. Couldn't you? It might not even be one of you two or any of the two. Could be Commissioner Walker. It's tough for the other guy who wasn't in the room to be like, well, that's not the impression that I'm coming to the table with, because I wasn't there.
So I just want to be on record that I was not there.
That's sort of like a no-brainer situation.
Why are they agreeing with him?
Going to end up in a decision making.
No.
But if I ask you, who's very fluent in the whole forestry thing, Commissioner, what is the idea of the forestry and the benefit of watering it as we should or whatever? And you tell me 10 minutes later, I read, oh, okay, so that's the purpose of that. Okay. That's a discussion we've had, but it has nothing to do with leading to a decision or anything else. I'm just trying to find out information on what makes trees grow better or whatever.
I'd feel more comfortable about that if that situation came forward. If you asked a question about something and I said, it's on page 107 of the resource manual.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not giving you, especially on forestry issues, it'd be tough for me to give my opinion or to even educate without some sort of a bias coming in. The watering is not important because we don't cut the trees anymore. They know, so this is going to burn up. Still, I don't know.
Stop for a second, please, Mike.
So, but to give you.
Does it say when two or more commissioners merely give information to each other or arrive at a decision? Or does it say when two or more commissioners take a vote? What does it say?
Merely gather information, and obviously gathering information, as long as you're conscious and your ears or eyes are open, you're gathering information.
That's right. And it's crystal clear. In fact, let's stop showing videotape because we've run out of time. Okay, let's just see each other if that's all right. Look, here's the point. This rule exists for a reason. And you all know what the rule is. The reason it exists for this way is because these commissioners from their beginning have been getting together and talking about stuff with nobody else in the room. I know this to be a fact because we've caught them on tape doing it. Okay. And also we can hear that they're in there and they're talking about county business. You can't hear what they're saying, but you can hear, they get loud enough. It used to be with Steve Rich, you could hear every word he said practically in the hallway with the door closed. And with earmuffs on, okay? So we know what they've been doing. They're not supposed to do that because we're supposed to be gathering the same information as they're gathering so that we're informed public. That's what we do here. They don't like that. This is why Colleen Martin, who was on our side on this property tax, this is one of the reasons she did not want to allow the public to come in and listen to Carl Wilson and Herman Bertschiger give them inside information about what's happening and about county business and how it's related to what's going on in Salem. They didn't want them. We used to be able to tape that. Colleen Martin was essential to making sure that that didn't happen anymore. Certainly the commissioners didn't want us there. They didn't want you there. They didn't want us to tape that information. Herman Bertschiger, I talked to him. Didn't bother with Carl Wilson. You already know what his stand on this is. I said, Herman, we should be able to hear this. People are interested. Well, you know, that's Colleen Martin. Since when does the head of the Chamber of Commerce get to decide state law? It's part of a group. And Carl Wilson is in it up to his nose. Oh, I like that, Carl Wilson. Well, except for the First Amendment and obeying the charter and state law. Yeah, maybe. How much work is it going to take to fix this system? You need two people. That's all. Just two. And these two, because of the way they've engineered this thing, these two people can say, we're going to share information with you. End of discussion. Mike, you got any closing comment to make there, bud? We'll play more tapes another day.
No, I don't. Actually, I think that sums it up pretty well. Obviously there has to be a change in policy, and
Well, a change in adherence to state
Like to see
law.
it
How
happen.
about that? Yeah, just obeying state law I mean, we'd be halfway there if we just obey the law. That's all. It shouldn't be the law. Then go change the law. Otherwise, you can't do it. That's all. Well, maybe we need 7 commissioners. You know what? It doesn't matter if we have 77 commissioners. If they're the wrong ones, obey the law. That's all. Simple. Good night.